Hello, hello. How are we doing?
How is everybody?
Happy Tuesday.
Hello, hello.
If you have the ability to turn your cameras on, please do. Love to see your faces. We're going to be spending a couple hours together today. All right, guys, let us know where you watching from. See who's the farthest away. We're going to ask you to get in the chat often over the next 3 days. So let us know. A lot of cold states coming in. All right, Mr. Metzger, how you feeling today?
I feel good today because I get to learn from you guys today.
Definitely a two-way street here. Man, got a ton of people coming in. I love it. We're going to get started, guys, in about a minute.
Hey, while we're waiting, I'd love to know, it's the end of 2024. My question for everybody on is, what are you hoping for 2025 for your business or your professional career? If there's any, I don't know if there's any instructors on here, or program directors or managers, but what are you hoping? Or I guess you could say, what are your goals for 2025? And what are you hoping to get out of this next 3 days? Consistency, 20% increase minimum, increased student base, increased growth and establish better systems, increased students, 25% profit increase. That's interesting because that's different than just overall gross increase, right? Somebody wants to take over Victorville, California in 2025. That's a good goal. 300 active students. We just opened, so 100 students in plan for a summer camp. Increase student base. Build systems for. Okay, look, here's the thing, and I'm going to turn it over to Chris, but at the end of the day, everybody wants some type of growth. More students is growth. Growth is new students is part of growth. And if you say better systems, I would think it would equate to growth or making things a little easier. So I think you've all come to the right place here. So interesting. Learn more about marketing and someday getting a storefront. Okay. Okay. All right, Chris, it's all yours.
All right, let's kick this party off. And I will do my best to let everybody in as they come in. We are monitoring the chat, guys. So if you have questions as we go through, please don't hesitate to ask. So this is actually the third year that we have done the Academy Intensive. First year that we did it was back in 2021. And we are going to be meeting here for the next 3 days. Each day we have a giveaway, but the giveaway is only for those that are on live. And we do have a special offer for you guys. And some of the questions I've been getting just via email and text message, it's the same Zoom link every single day. So just want to have that readily available. I'm curious in the chat, and I'm getting some personal DMs. I'll do the best job to answer those in a second for you. But in the chat, is this anybody's first webinar with MAIA? Can you just put like yes if this is your very first webinar with MAIA? All right, got a first timer. Yes, yes. Okay, very cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. For those of you that don't know, the Martial Arts Industry Association, longest standing coaching company in the martial arts industry. Metz, what is it, 22, 23 years now?
23 years.
23 years. And our focus is really to help martial arts schools impact their communities and provide more opportunities for their team members by helping you maximize your profitability. This is our team here. Over the course of the next few days, you'll get an introduction to a couple of our team members. All of our consultants are successful school owners who specialize in specific areas. And what we're really known for is our MAIA Elite program. If you are in our MAIA Elite program, can you drop the word elite in the chat? Let's just see how many of our awesome clients are here. Very cool. Love to see you guys. And we'll talk a little bit more about our MAIA Elite program later on. So we've got 3 action-packed days. Today, we're going to be kicking it off with the momentum game plan. I will be leading us through that. We're going to do a little reflective activity, and then we're going to dive into focusing on the fundamentals, the 10 strategies that we want you to make sure you have in place. And if you guys can make sure you are muting yourself. Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. And then Mr. Tassel is going to go with talking all about numbers. We always say math is the path. And then we'll wrap up with the Q&A and the giveaway. Day 2, we have Mr. Parman and Mr. Metzger. And day 3, I'll be wrapping it up with Mr. Metzger. So we have jam-packed trainings here for you that will help you get ready for 2025. I'm going to go ahead and drop this link in the chat. We put together a workbook for you. And if you want to grab it, you can download it. There's a couple of different activities that we are going to do. So this will give you just a way to fill it out if you wanted to print it, or if you had an iPad and you want to make notes on there. But you're going to use this throughout the course of the next 3 days. So I'll drop the link a couple of more times for everybody to be able to grab it. This capture card, whether you use the workbook or not, this process called a capture card is something that has really helped me. I go to a lot of events, and sometimes you go to a webinar, you go to an event, and you feel super overwhelmed. Okay. Has anybody ever gone to an event, whether it's like an in-person event or maybe like a virtual event? And by the end of it, you don't even really know where to start, but there's a bunch of things that you need to do. Can anybody relate to that? Let me know in the chat. I know I have. And this process of the capture cards is just a really great way to organize your top action steps. So what I'd love for you to do is at the end of each one of the sessions, and you have this in your workbook, or if you're just using like a notepad to take notes, you're going to write the name of the session, and you're just going to put your top 3 insights and action steps. And the way that I use this is at the end of the event, I can now go to this 1-page document, and all of the major takeaways from each one of the sessions I have on a 1-page document. It's just a really great way to kind of organize your thoughts. So highly recommend utilizing the capture cards for that. Okay. So let me go ahead and just stop the share here because somebody drew on the... There we go. All right. So we're going to kick it off with the momentum game plan. And this is an activity that I'm going to want you to take notes, put your thoughts down on paper, and we are going to share some of these in the chat. So this exercise is really great to get clarity on where you were, where you are right now, and where you want to go so you can ultimately build momentum. Okay. I feel like our business and our life can sometimes feel like we're in a rowboat rowing out to the horizon. Like there's never going to be a day where everything that needs to be done in the business is done and you can just close that book. One of my favorite quotes is, your business is broken, and if things continue to go well, it always will be. There's always going to be more work. But as we're like rowing out towards the horizon, it never feels like we're going anywhere. It doesn't feel like we're moving. And what we have to do is we've got to look back every once in a while to really realize how far we've come. So I'd like to just take a second and reflect on the past year of 2024. And what are you most proud of, right? Maybe it's a key hire. Maybe you had your highest enrollment month. Maybe you had your highest revenue month. Maybe you implemented a new curriculum or joined a coaching company. I want you to come up with, a handful of things and write that down. And I'm going to give you guys about 60 to 90 seconds to get that done. And for those of you that are popping in, we have our workbook here for you. Mr. Tassel, can I put you on the spot? Something you're really proud of from 2024? And then Mr. Metzger, I'll ask you as well.
Whoa, that's really put me on the spot. I'm most proud of myself. No, I am most proud. Listen, that's a hard when you say it that way, right? I don't ever
Slow
do
down,
that.
Cass. Slow
Sounds
down.
sounds a little weird to say I'm proud of. I've actually I've done a much better job on the administrative side this year, I will say, as far as getting our team organized.
Awesome. What about you, Mr. Metzger?
I am most proud of my team. They've done a phenomenal job. You know, working the schools, fixing the culture, training up, hiring. So I'm very, very proud of my team.
Love it. Guys, in the chat, if you could let us know, share in the comments, one, or if you want to share more of what you are most proud of. Purchased our business from our founders. Awesome. Congratulations. Getting started. 6 students. All right. All right. Here they come. Launched our school with 10 students and are at 39 in the first 2 months, becoming more streamlined with playbooks. I love that, Mrs. Chapman. School program launched. Curriculum overhaul. Very good. Tracking of statistics. Best revenue year. I love it. Keep it coming, guys. You know, oftentimes when we come on these trainings and we're looking forward and we're planning, we just kind of we forget to look back and really see how far we've come. So I think reflection is such an important aspect. You know, they say that experience is a teacher, but really it's evaluated experience that becomes the best teacher. So we want to make sure we are reflecting and looking back at all of the amazing things that we did this year. So next up, what are you most confident about right now? Take a second and think about what are you the most confident about right now? Maybe it's your retention. Maybe you've really dialed in your sales process. Maybe it's your team. What are a handful of items that you're just really, really confident about that you have developed inside of your school? And once you have those written down, love if you could share them in the chat, what you're most confident about. Retention and curriculum, retention, providing quality classes, curriculum, my why. That's very important, Mr. Frank. Curriculum and retention. Awesome. Team dynamic. Very good. Last part of this exercise that we are going to, actually second to last part of this exercise that we are going to share. What are you most excited about for 2025? We're going to be going over a lot of different strategies that you can implement, but what are you really excited about going into the new year? Take about 60 seconds, jot your thoughts down. Mr. Metzger, something you're really excited about going into the new year?
Scaling. Opening up 2 more schools.
Love it. Mr. Tassel?
Yeah, I'm just we got some big plans on, just getting some enrollment stuff down and confident that we have the makings of a great team, which is great.
What about you, Chris?
What am I most excited about? I'm really excited about our team. As you know, we made a really big key hire, a second in command, which is something that you've been telling me for, I don't know, years now that I needed to work on getting. So very excited about that. Yes, sir, Mr. Butler, Max Hine. And really excited about being able just to implement AI even more. I know that there's a a lot of really cool things that we personally have in the pipeline to help clients get better results through leveraging AI. So I'm excited to see what what occurs in the new year. Last thing, guys, is what's the main thing you want to get out of this event? Why are you here? Like, what is the main thing? Like, if you could walk away with just one thing, what is it? Let me know in the chat. Last part. Ooh, I like that, Mr. Nedkin. Carrying the October mindset momentum even further. So that was I think the 30K in 30 days mindset. I love it. One, growth strategies to bring in new prospects, enrollment ideas. Mr. Metzger, are you surprised at any of those answers at all, sir? Or is that kind of what you were expecting to see?
That's the answers we get. I was expecting all of that. I'm trying to read them as they're scrolling here. You know, as I read this, I know the industry. I know the martial arts industry. And as I read this, I have great empathy for all of you school owners because I've been there for a long time. I was there as a struggling school owner, wondering how can I scale this business and really not worry ever about, financially. And then how can I take the people that were working part-time for me or leadership students and give them an opportunity? The first thing I'm going to tell everybody on here is everyone here is capable. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. And we're not here to teach you theory. We're doing it, so you can do it, number one. And number two, here's where I may lose some of you. Sorry, Chris. Here's where they may drop off. But if you're here to look for a secret potion or a magic formula, it does not exist. But there's a lot of us in this industry that will constantly gravitate to the next newest shiny object, thinking this is what's going to take my business. It's called busting your ass and grinding. The thing is you have to bust your ass and grind in the right direction and do the right things. And then the odds of you achieving success that you've never imagined is in your favor. Are there guarantees? There's never guarantees. The only thing we do is put the odds in your favor. We're going to grab your hand and we're going to lead you down the path. But some of that path is rocky and some of that path is uphill, but we're going to drag you. If you stay on the path, you will get everything that all of you are saying from what you want. You will. Okay. But you're not going to get on here and get some magic formula that you're just going to be off of this and just go do it and not work. And it's just going to happen. So I promise you, all of you are capable, but it's going to take a little work in the beginning until you get those systems that some of you are wanting.
All right. So with that, we're going to kick off our very first session called Focus on the Fundamentals. And we do have in the workbook, there is a worksheet for this, but just taking notes on plain piece of paper is absolutely okay. And really what we're going to unpack is the top 10 foundational components to operating a successful martial arts school. I believe building a business is like building a home, and we have to make sure that we have a very strong foundation. And one of my favorite quotes by Michael Jordan, get the fundamentals down and the level of everything you do will rise. So my mission with the next 40 minutes as we unpack focusing on the fundamentals is just to get you to get savagely good at the basics. And we're going to do that through doing a quick audit on these 10 foundational aspects. We'll dive into some lead generating activities and then how you can calendarize your activities by focusing on RGAs. Does anybody know what an RGA is? Anybody know what an RGA? Maybe take a random guess. I have said it in previous trainings before. RGAs. Anybody? There we go, Mr. Diaz. I love it. Revenue generating activity. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. So we often need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And in some cases, some of the things that I go over today, or Mr. Metzger, Mr. Parman, Mr. Tassel, it might be more of a reminder, but you're in a different place today than you were more than likely when you first heard about it. I think a lot of frustrations that we have as business owners is that we're not really sure what to focus on. So you try to focus on everything and you just have this never-ending to-do list. It also can sometimes feel like feast or famine when it comes to generating new students and generating revenue. And for most, there's just a lack of consistent systems, or they're just not written out. For a lot of school owners, they have the systems, but they're up in their head and they're just not down on paper. And I think we all want a very clear plan with specific activities that are happening on an ongoing basis. We want to create this like vortex of activity that's going on in our business, which helps us have that consistent lead flow and sales. And we want a predictable process. So I want you to list each one of these down. And as I go through them, next to each one, I just want you to write like yes or no. Do you have this strategy in place? Okay. And one of the reasons why I wanted to touch on this is because earlier in this year, Century and MAIA, we did the 30,000 students for 30 days and had an opportunity to get in front of a lot of school owners that we had never had an opportunity to teach. And some of these items were just very foreign to them. So for those of you that maybe have been doing this for a while, you've scaled, you're probably going to have a lot more yeses than you do nos. And for those of you that are just getting started, this is a really great checklist to start with. So first and foremost, are your personal and business profiles updated? Okay, so what do I mean by personal and business profiles? Your Facebook personal profile, your Instagram account, your Facebook business page, your Instagram business account, and the most important out of all of these, your Google business profile is optimized. So often when I'm auditing school owners' Facebook accounts, whether it's their personal or their business, there is a lack. You can go to somebody's personal Facebook page and you wouldn't even really know what they do for a living. And the reason why that is a little frustrating is because it is a free way for you to market. And for those of you that are just getting started and you don't have large marketing budgets, leveraging organic social media profiles is important. So the question of what if we don't use personal social media? My recommendation would be to consider using it. It has played a huge role in us being able to develop an online community, being able to develop things like Facebook groups for your students and your parent groups. Regardless what your maybe personal thoughts are towards social media, are there days that I wish I could just delete it and would never have to go on? Sure, but it plays such an integral role in our ability to not just engage our current students, but also go out and find new ones. I would consider doing so. Okay, so I want you to just kind of go through these and think, like my Facebook personal profile, have I linked my business page to it, right? That's something that's super simple that you can do. Your Facebook business page, has it been updated? Is your schedule and your hours updated? Are you posting consistently on that page? And for your Google business profile, one of the biggest mistakes that I see business owners make is they make that and then they never go back to it. And your Google business profile is probably one of the most underutilized marketing platforms that when somebody searches for martial arts near me, we want to make sure that you have the ability to show up so you get the first click. So next to personal and business profiles updated, yes or no, how are you guys doing? Go ahead and write that down. Okay. I see some more questions coming in. We have a Q&A at the end and we have a pretty tight schedule that I want to stay on. So if it's like a quick question, I'll do my best to answer, but otherwise we'll unpack it in the Q&A. The second thing is, do you have a lead generating website? Okay. I know when I first opened up my academy, I used one of the parents who said he knew how to make a website. And I was fortunate that he was actually pretty good at web design, but it wasn't a lead generating website. We weren't able to generate name, email, and phone number based off of the website. So do you have a lead generating website where your NAP, which is your name, address, and profile, are accurate to what is on your Google business profile? This is so important, guys. Okay. Whatever is on your Google business profile, that's got to be listed directly the same exact way. So, like if you're in suite A, do you spell out suite? Do you put STE? Is it STE period? It has to be 100% accurate. Does your website have a lead magnet, meaning there is something that a prospect could download by giving you their contact information? Is there an ability to book and purchase a trial, right? These are things that if you operated a school in the 90s or the early 2000s that you didn't really have to worry about, but now it is a tool that you can leverage. We want to make sure the website is mobile optimized. Most of your prospects, when they're looking for you, they are on a phone. So we want to make sure that it is just very easy to navigate and that it has been built with search engine optimization, which stands for SEO, meaning the words and the coding that was used to build your website will help you rank higher when people are searching for martial arts in your area. So yes or no, do we have a lead generating website? That is number 2. Number 3, CRM, Customer Relationship Management Platform. The Taekwondo school that I started at in the 90s was a Junri Institute of Taekwondo, and they actually built their own CRM. This is the early 90s. There was a black belt that was a coder, and he actually built. So we had a CRM, but it was a custom one. Today, trying to build a CRM takes a very long time and is very, very expensive. And fortunately, there are CRMs out there that are cost effective, but you need to have a place that stores all of your contacts. You want to have a database. You want the ability to be able to send out emails and text messages, track attendance, have automation. So if somebody doesn't show up to a class, we can automatically reach out to them. Want to have the ability to have a point of sale, to be able to sell merchandise, and also to have people have the ability to register for your events. So if you're hosting, a women's self-defense workshop or a parent night out event, do they have that ability to register? So yes or no, do you have a CRM, customer relationship management platform? Some of the more well-known ones in the industry that are specific to martial arts, you've got My Studio, you've got Spark, you've got Rainmaker, Kicksite, Zen Planner. There are a ton of different options out there. And this can just really help you in terms of managing the administrative tasks inside of your school. Okay. Next up, programs and pricing laid out. So this is something that is a big component inside of MAIA, and it's one of the first things that we teach our clients is getting their programs and pricing. Mr. Metzger always says it's not just what you charge, it's how you charge. So we want to make sure that we have proper pricing in place, that we have our basic programs and upgrade programs lined out, and retail packages baked into your programs. And what we love to use is having like a visual component, which we call a flip book. And you could do like a physical one, a 3-ring binder, or you could also do a digital one. So we want to make sure that regardless if you're using, a basic program or upgrade programs, that we at least have a visual component that we can show people when we take them through the enrollment process. So I'd love to know yes or no in the comments. Do you have this laid out? I see a pending. I see a few yeses. Awesome. All right. Next up, and I actually just did a training this morning on sales processes, and I did a podcast yesterday with a sales coach. So this is very top of mind for me, but having an actual sales process laid out, mapping what that journey looks like for our prospects, and making sure that it's repeatable so that we have a playbook for it, that we have, an SOP so that if we're currently the one that is, doing the enrollment process and we ever want to delegate that to other people, that we have this repeatable sales process. So in MAIA, we teach the 4-step enrollment process. We could do, an entire multiple hour session just on this, but I just wanted to showcase an example of what having an actual process looks like, right? And with MAIA, we talk about the student. We get specific about the benefits that our programs teach. We pre-frame the upgrade, and then we present the pricing and program options. So regardless if you're using our 4-step enrollment process or another one, we just want to make sure that we have that process written out so that we can eventually delegate that out. And it's a repeatable process. It's not just selling based off of personality. I hear it all the time. Chris, if you can get them in the door, I can close them. And I haven't met anybody with 100% closure rate, for their entire career. You should be tracking, those percentages of people that show up and that close. But I want you to make sure that you do have a process laid out for your sales. So let me know, yes or no, is that something you currently have? Miss Woods, no? Okay. Almost. All right, great. Thank you for sharing, guys. Okay. Next up is a referral program. And I think a lot of schools claim they have a referral program, but if you asked a parent in the lobby, they more than likely wouldn't know that it exists. And we want to make sure that the referral program is known by all. And you can bake this into your enrollment process. You can bake this into your retention strategies, but it should be visual. There should be somewhere in your school that if you do have a referral program, that people know about it, right? In our academy, we have a poster similar to this one here. This poster is in MAIA Edge. MAIA Edge is one of the programs that MAIA offers, basically gives you every single graphic that you could think of that you would want to implement in your school. But having a poster like this, we also use a prize wheel. So we have a big prize wheel that is drilled into the wall. It is visual. So there's one thing just to say you have a referral program, but do you have a visual referral program that is known by all? So yes or no in the comments. Let me know, guys. Okay. Got a bunch of no's on that one. Mr. Metzger, that might be a good training for us to do in the future then?
Yes, tomorrow.
You might be changing one of your topics. All right, awesome. Next up, guys, marketing strategies, right? And more often than not, I see so many school owners just putting all eggs in one basket, and typically it's like word of mouth. And COVID really taught us that you need to diversify your marketing. I call it having multiple lines out in the ocean. If I go fishing and have 10 lines and you have one, I'm going to catch more. And in our industry, we have internal marketing, external marketing, and digital marketing. And Mr. Metzger is going to be going through some of these internal and external marketing strategies over the course of the next 3 days. But the major takeaway is not to rely just on one. We want to have multiple strategies out there. And the other thing we have to remember is that we always have to make this decision in our business. Am I going to spend my time, energy, and effort, or am I going to spend my money? Well, if you don't have money, guess what you're spending? You're spending your time, your energy, and your effort. And one of Mr. Metzger's sessions is what to do, what marketing efforts you can do if you have a $0 marketing budget. So I'd love to know, yes or no, do you have a marketing strategy where you're not just relying on one line out in the ocean? Okay. Okay. Next up, and I know that this is Mr. Metzger's personal favorite, partners in education. While this is definitely a marketing strategy, I do believe it deserves its own kind of highlight, because as the person that absolutely does love digital marketing, and I love running Facebook ads and Google ads, schools that really put their time, energy, efforts, and focus in developing partners in education with the local elementary schools, literally have a place that has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of their ideal customers if you offer kids programs. And we have an entire partners in education process that we teach our teach our clients. But I also noticed one of the things that somebody was really proud of that they had mentioned today was getting into the local school system, because it can absolutely be a game changer. So I'd love to know, do you have some form of a partnership with the local school system? Yes or no? And write that down or put it in the chat. All right, we're seeing a lot of yeses. That's awesome. Very cool. Okay, last couple of our audit is, do you have a minimum viable funnel? And what I mean by minimum viable funnel, in like marketing land, when we talk about a funnel, at the top of the funnel are your prospects that gain awareness that you exist. And the ultimate goal is to push them down the funnel to ultimately become a student. And because we're living in 2024, about to be 2025, you really need to be able to offer online scheduling. I was using a local company here that's around the corner from my office to get my car detailed. But the only way that I would be able to book an appointment was to call. And I travel a lot. So I would have to call and I would say, hey, do you have availability on Wednesday? And they're like, no, what about Thursday? Oh, that doesn't work for me. And even though they did a great job, I ultimately ended up finding a different company that I could schedule online for me to be able to get my car detailed. And it's just the kind of world that we're living in this instant gratification society. I mean, you can order a car in a couple of clicks. You can order your food in a couple of clicks, and people really appreciate the convenience of online scheduling. That doesn't mean you're not reaching out and calling them to build rapport and figure out what benefits that they're looking for. But on the front end, we're really making this convenient. So do you have the ability for people to book appointments with you online and then an automated confirmation sequence? So let me know, yes or no. Typically, the well-known marketing or website companies like Market Muscles can do this for you, get this set up, and also the CRMs. Okay, getting started, that's awesome. All right, and then last up, guys, number 10, social proof. So do you have social proof that you get people results, right? And we can showcase that social proof through Google reviews. You should ultimately be aiming for 100 Google reviews. That really puts you in kind of like another like league compared to your competitors. Most schools that we audit typically have 10 or less, maybe 10 to 20 Google reviews. And I really want you aiming for 100. And then video testimonials, right? We all have parents that have come up to us. We have adult students that come up to us and tell us about, how amazing our programs are. And ideally, you want to be able to get them to say that on camera, because then you can leverage those video testimonials, put them on your website, put them on social media, and use them in your ads. So yes or no? How are you doing on social proof? What do we do after 100 reviews? You get 200, sir. And then you get 300. And then you get 400. I think the most that I've ever seen is about 500 for a martial arts school, that is very, very high. Okay. So inside of your workbook, we did have this like yes or no, but I know a lot of you are just writing down on paper. These are kind of the 10 like foundational strategies that we want to make sure going into 2025 that we have these done, right? If you are operating, a brick and mortar martial arts school, but you don't have a website or you don't have a Google business profile, if you don't have online presence, if somebody comes in and you don't have anything to showcase them in terms of your programs and pricing, these are the things that we want to make sure that we have in line. So out of all 10, I'd love to know in the comments, what is the one that you need to focus on after we've done this audit? So let me know in the comments, what is the number one that you might not have fully fleshed out, or maybe you have it partially fleshed out, but we know that that needs to be our focus. Miss Shelley says the social proof, reviews, minimal viable funnel, partners in education, sales process mastery. Love it. Good on all but number 10. Great job, Mrs. Chapman. That's why you guys are so successful. Awesome. Seeing a lot of the sales process. Okay, guys, great. Awesome. So now we've kind of laid out these foundational strategies that we want to have. And one of the things that I've noticed over the last 13 years of being an entrepreneur is that business is actually simple. It's people that are complex. And for those of you that are growing a team, you know that people are never a box you get to check off. And for those of you that, you know, maybe you're a one man or one woman show, oftentimes it's ourselves that ultimately get in the way. I always say our business doesn't have problems. We have personal problems that we bring into our business. And it's important to understand that there are 5 key drivers in every business. You have the product and service, right? Like what you offer, right? What is it that you offer? And in our cases, you know, in its most simplistic form, we offer martial arts lessons. I think there's an argument in terms of like, you know, developing a USP, you know, something that makes you guys really special and puts you apart from your competition. But at the end of the day, every business has a product or a service that they offer. Then they have marketing, which tells the world that they exist, right? Got to have marketing so we gain more awareness. And then we have sales. That's our opportunity for customers. And let me tell you, sales cures all. One of my favorite Mark Cuban quotes. And then number 4, we have customer success, right? How do we keep our customers happy and returning? How do we retain them, right? And then finally, we have ops and admin because we have to run the business. We have the people component. We have finance and projects. So it doesn't matter if you own a martial arts school, a dance studio, a coaching program, a marketing agency. These are the 5 key drivers in any business. And as I read through these 5, depending on where you're at, right, 1 or 2 of these are probably going to kind of pop into your head as that is the area that I need the most room for improvement. So I'm curious, which one is it? Mr. Butler already knew I was going to ask. He said marketing. There we go. Marketing, sales, marketing, marketing, marketing. Keep them coming, guys. Ops and admin, marketing, marketing and sales. All right. So, you know, maybe I can look into the future, but I knew that the majority of you were going to say that it's marketing and sales. And that's really where we're going to put a lot of our focus over the course of the next 3 days. And, you know, as you start to get bigger and you start to scale and, you know, marketing and sales process start to get dialed in, you typically then start leaning into customer success and ops and admin. You know, what's interesting, I don't think any single person put product or service. And I think that is really interesting. I do think that many of us think that we teach like we are the absolute best martial arts instructor in the world, and we all can't be the absolute best. But one of the things that happens once you do start to scale and you do start to grow is there's just a lot more moving pieces and things can ultimately end up falling through the cracks. And maybe you were the chief instructor and you were teaching all of the classes and now you no longer are and you're delegating that out. Oftentimes, once you start getting bigger, the focus has to shift back on the product and service that you are offering so that you can continue to make it 1% better, right? Just because this is the way that we've always taught doesn't mean that that's the way we should continue teaching in the future. Okay, so let's talk about these RGAs, revenue generating activities. How are we guys feeling so far? Are we good? I got about 15 minutes left. How are we doing? Let me know in the chat. I told you guys I was going to ask you to get in there a lot today. How are we doing? I feel like I need a DJ over the side to start like playing music and stuff. All right, we're doing good. I love it. Okay, so I wrote a book called The Best Known Dojo, and I would love to send you a free copy of my book called The Best Known Dojo. All you have to do is send me an email. This is my email, chris@growproagency.com. Give me your name and your address. I need to know where to send it, and I will cover the cost of the book and the shipping, my holiday gift to you. But just send me an email with your name and address, because I do believe that this is a resource that all school owners should read. It is a book on marketing, and it unpacks the 7 levels of marketing, which for many of you says that was the #1 driver that you need help with out of the 5. So go ahead, shoot me an email. I'll send that out to you, my gift to you. But there are kind of 7 different ways that we can advertise, and it starts easy and then it gets a lot harder in terms of like the sweat equity that you have to put in. But the harder it gets, the higher quality lead that you have. So we have organic social media and content marketing, leveraging platforms like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. Not sure how much longer TikTok's going to be around. And then we have leveraging like SEO, search engine optimization, and your Google business profile, which shows how high you rank on Google. You have email and text message marketing, which is probably one of the most underutilized levels of marketing that costs you pretty much nothing. You'll have to pay for the cost of the text going out, but it is nominal. Then you have paid advertising, right? And that's pay to play. So you have to have a marketing budget for that. That's our Facebook ads. That's our Google ads. We've got the good old phone. The one thing that most schools are not leveraging enough is just picking up the phone and making dials. Guys, if you look at industries outside of the martial arts industries that have sales forces, like they have people that are making literally hundreds of calls a day. Okay. Can you time block specific periods throughout your week to do that, to pick up the phone and call? We have print marketing, which is not dead at all. And then finally, face-to-face marketing. And the face-to-face marketing is the one that's going to provide you with the highest quality lead, but does take the most work. Okay. Ben, I do not have an audio book version. Thank you for asking, though. So these are all different revenue generating activities. But what we have to understand is that cash flow comes from your calendar. Okay. One of my favorite quotes is show me your bank account and show me your calendar, and I will show you your priorities. And one of the things I'll never forget Mr. Tassel saying at a session maybe like 5 years ago is a full calendar equals a full mat, and a full mat equals a full bank account. Okay. So you have to set your, what I like to call daily themes, because cash flow does come from your calendar. And if you are a one-man, one-woman show, then this is your calendar. If you have a team, then you need to understand that cash flow comes from their calendar as well. And one of the best things that we have done is setting daily themes in our company. So like Monday is meeting day, Tuesday is marketing day, Wednesday is playbook day, Thursday is relationship day, Friday is finance day. And that doesn't mean we're not doing other things, but it means that there is a specific focus for that day. And if you don't have a specific day where you are developing your marketing campaigns, that's an issue, because cash flow comes from your calendar. Okay. Ben says concierge service with GrowPro has been a game changer. Appreciate that. Awesome. Very good. Okay. The kind of the next part of this after you theme your days is setting your focus hours. One of, I think the hardest parts is being able just to sit down and focus on one thing and get it done without allowing all of the day-to-day distractions occur. So what I want you to do is set a predetermined block of time to complete those specific revenue generating activities, right? And start with 1 hour a day. I truly believe that if schools spent an hour a day on follow-up, they would no longer have an enrollment issue. Okay. It's just we don't time block this time in. Okay. So start with 1 hour a day, work your way up to 2 to 3 hours a day. And that's where your team members will focus on whatever the top goal, the focus block, deep work, whatever you want to call it. And it's really a non-negotiable meeting with yourself. For QA playbook day. So playbook day would just be the day that you decide that you are going to build out some of your playbooks. Playbooks are just systems and processes, guys. Okay. So we want to set our focus hours. Okay. So here's an example. Maybe it's Monday, 9 to 12. Maybe Tuesday, you can't do like a full 3-hour block, so you break it up. Whatever it is, you need to have specific focus hours where all you are doing is focusing on these revenue generating activities, okay? And here's some examples, right? So maybe we calendarize our activity based off of like the daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly actions we're going to take. So daily would be post a piece of content and follow up with 25 prospects. These are just examples, right? Weekly would be batch social media content and put 100 rack cards in local businesses. Monthly might be, I'm going to write one new database reactivation campaign, which is just an email and text message campaign. I'm going to get a student video testimonial, and I'm going to film a new offer video, right? All of these things are revenue generating activities. And then maybe quarterly, we're going to do a direct mail campaign. We're going to set up an offsite booth. We're going to check in with our partners in education, right? And once you set your themes and set your focus hours, and then plug in these daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly revenue generating activities, you end up creating this vortex of activities. So while one post might not seem like a lot, or 25 phone calls might not seem like a lot, at the end of the year, that's 261 posts and 6,500 calls. If we do it weekly and we're batching social media, that's 52 weeks of content or 5,200 rack cards that we placed over the course of the year. If we break down our monthly actions, that's 36 email campaigns, because anytime you do an email campaign, guys, for an offer, we don't just want to do one-offs. You want to do at least 3 emails. And if we can get a student video testimonial, that's 12 video testimonials by the end of the year. That's 12 offer videos that we can film at the end of the year. And for quarterly, that's, should say, 6,000 postcards, 4 offsite events. And now we're checking in with our partners in education relationships consistently, which I ultimately think is priceless. And when you do this, when you calendarize these revenue generating activities, you have people say that we see you everywhere. And you ultimately build omnipresence in your prospects' world. Okay. So I'd love to know, what were some of your major takeaways on focus on the fundamentals? Let me know in the chat. Major takeaways. We did the 10 strategy audit. We talked about the 5 drivers. We unpacked revenue generating activities and then calendarizing those RGAs. Let me know. Time blocking. Yes, sir. That is huge. Mr. Brewer, I need a ton of help. Well, we'd be happy to help you, sir. Need to time block lead follow-up. Yes, Mr. Sweeney, that is huge. Time blocking. Yes. Got to calendarize these revenue generating activity, guys. You know, we, in kind of the business world, you have leading indicators and you have lagging indicators. And oftentimes we focus so much on the lagging indicator, which is like, how many students did we get? As opposed to focusing on a leading indicator, which would be like, oh, I made 100 phone calls this week. I put out 150 rack cars. Those leading indicators will ultimately help us improve our lagging indicators. See, a lot of time block cash flow comes from your calendar. Awesome. Calendar breakdown, daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly. This was a priceless snippet today. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. What you said about focus on customer service, that hits hard. So true. Make that a priority. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Theme. Is there going to be a recording of this day 1 sent out? Yes, sir. There will be. Awesome. Any questions, guys? Any questions? I've got about 5 minutes left. We've got all the consultants on here as well. But any question? Your part about the card detailing needing to be automated was my confirmation to finish building out the online scheduling. Great. Awesome. Love to hear that. Very good. Mr. Metzger, we get you. Are you back, sir? Yes. All right.
Awesome. I am. Yes, I am.
All right. Any thoughts? Anything that you want to highlight, sir?
No, I think you did a great job. I think everybody needs to understand that you got 3 days of information. And, you know, I'll be honest, the stuff that Chris goes over as far as social media, if you want to email me, I'm at AOL.com. So I don't know anything about that stuff. So I hire Chris and GrowPro to take care of it for me. And so don't get overwhelmed and don't shut your mind off, even if you don't really understand everything, and don't try to implement everything, implement something. And if you implement something, you're taking a step forward. So that would be my advice to all of that.
Love it. Bose says, my clients hate emails. What would you do in substitution? This is a lesson Mr. Metzger taught me. I would go to him when he was my consultant and I would say something like, all the parents are complaining about this thing. And he would say, oh yeah, what are their names? And I would spit out 2 or 3 parents' names. And we have 250 students. And we have to be careful of classifying that everybody dislikes something. Emails are just a part of the world that we live in. But what you should also be utilizing instead of just emails is text messages. But this is also another reason why having a Facebook group is another great way to communicate with your students. And then good old just, fashion printed newsletters, because we are living in this digital world. So many of us don't print things out. And let me tell you, if we want to ensure that an event that we're hosting is getting full, we're printing 4x4s because we know people get bombarded online, and having that physical, tangible item that we can hand to them will help us increase those event registrations. Okay. Can we add other staff members to tomorrow's webinar? Absolutely. You can just share the Zoom link with them. Do you prepare marketing calendar monthly, quarterly, or yearly? We do ours yearly, but we have a lot of experience. And for some of you, if I said plan out your entire year for marketing, that's going to be really overwhelming. So can you start with monthly? Ideally, I would do it quarterly, right? And like when we release all of the marketing strategies for MAIA Edge, we give 3 months out in advance. So you have plenty of time to, get all of that out. What's your process when planning out your year, done alone, with the team? How do you prioritize? For our martial arts school, we do it with our leadership team. I am a fan of getting my team involved for accountability purposes. It's one thing to plan everything out yourself and say, now go do this. You're going to get a lot more buy-in if you guys come up with it together. So that's my personal preference in planning out for the year. Okay. I see we still have a bunch of questions, guys. We do have a Q&A at the end, but I do want to stay on track. So I appreciate everybody's time, energy, and effort, and especially getting in the chat. I know it's a lot to be going in there and typing it out, but I truly appreciate that. And I'm going to now pass the mic over to Mr. Tass, and I think he's talking about some numbers today. Is that right, sir?
How we doing? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
And by the way, I was peeking over. I saw Bose also replied, his open rate is 53%. Well, then your people don't hate email. That's a really high open rate, by the way.
Yes, it is.
And of course, we should have a high open rate from our clients, right? But anyway, nonetheless, we'll welcome everybody. And now that you've gone through the first session here, we're going to go through. I'm going to screen share in just a minute, so I don't know if I've got permission for that yet or not, Chris, but I'll need that in a minute. Thank you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through what everybody loves to do, right? Which is dream and set some goals. And then we're going to go through what nobody wants to do, which is create a plan and go through the stats and the numbers on how to get and obtain those goals, right? And this is why sometimes I don't even tell people what I'm talking about, because I want you to get in it before you just tune out, because I think everybody on here knows that you should be keeping stats, right? And sometimes it's not knowing what stats to keep, and that's fair. But other times it's just having the discipline, whether it's you or somebody else keeping those stats. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, so we'll go ahead and jump on. I'll share the screen here, and we will get going. Let's do this. And I promise that there we go. Black Hat Stats is really no witchcraft or voodoo, everybody. It was just a catchy title to get you to show up. That was it. So listen, Black Hat Stats is this. It's basically keeping stats for your business. And I'm going to go through those with you in just a minute. You know, why is that important and which one should we keep, so on and so forth. So this is really your secret to goal setting, right? Number one, what's your why? And this is where I'm going to pull a chat box up here just a second. So why are you doing what you're doing? And again, outside of that, we want to impact the community that we're in, because I think that's a given for all of us, right? Like, that's really what our mission is. If I say, well, you know, what do you want to accomplish? Well, I just want to have more of an impact in the lives in our community. And I think, of course, that's the case. And I think that's probably the case for everybody, right? But everyone is on here because I think and can assume that you want to generate more revenue in your business. And the reason and the question for that is why? Why is that important to you, and what is your why? And I just want you to throw that in the chat box if you would share, right? And some of you it may be more personal, but what's your why, right? Just so we have an idea, because we need to know that if our why isn't big enough, it's not going to get us to take action on anything that you're going to see for the next 3 days, right? Your why has to be bigger than your excuses. And this is why it's called your why and why it's so important. So let me just pull this up here. It's a little bit harder reading this. Okay. Wants to buy a boat for the lake. There you go. Love it. Love it. Personal growth and a more rewarding career. I want to be free from an employer. Bear with me because they're coming a little bit quick here. Build a business so that our son can take over. Because martial arts system we teach works. Good. So impacting more people. More financial stability for myself and for my partners. Freedom. Generational wealth for my son, and make enough money for my business to quit his 9-to-5. Helping people grow. Want to reach people who don't typically get involved in martial arts. We have a huge undeserved special needs community. Love it. Travel and investing, right? So lots of different reasons why, right? So that's awesome. And it's up to you to determine what those reasons are, because there is no right why, right? So when you're thinking about this, and some of the hardest part is like when you do goal setting, it's like, well, what should the goal be? And we start asking maybe other people, well, what are their goals and what do you want to accomplish? And really what their goal is really shouldn't affect what my goal is, but sometimes we're looking for people to maybe justify or get an idea of what are other people doing out there. So whether that goal is for you to maybe remove yourself from the floor a little bit or entirely, whether your goal is to stay on the mats until the end of your career and just impact as many people as possible, this is for you, right? This is what we need to establish. Our why first, then we go in next to, let me click on here. There we go. Which is this. We got to set the goal. Let me see if I got this right. Yep. We got to set the goal. But when we do set the goal, we have to begin with the end in mind. I want to make sure everyone can see that. Okay. We got to begin with the end in mind, right? And here is what that's an old Stephen Covey expression. And here's just really what that means. What that means is how did we do this year, right? Now, we're not to the end of 2024 yet, right? We've got a few weeks left. But your goal and your mission, for most everybody on here, I'm going to say this, is that the majority of you may not keep numbers consistently in your business. However, the great news is that you have the ability for a lot of you to go back and get those numbers, right? And that's something that we can do. And if we can't do that, then here's what we need to do is we need to start now and start developing the habit of keeping those numbers and keeping those stats, because this is what's going to help us to get wherever we want to go and to contribute to whatever that why is and what that reason is that you're doing this in the first place, right? So I have to assume, and I want to pause for a second, because I think some of the things, strategies, some of the things that we chat about over the course of the next couple of days here, they are business related, right? And I think it's important to call that out, because we love martial arts. We're martial artists. But at the end of the day, this is the business side that nobody really wants us to sign up for necessarily, but it's the key and it's the secret. It's like when someone comes into your school and they're like, well, what's the secret move for this, right? Well, there really is no secret move, right? The deal is you got to train. You got to go through all the things you want that are being asked of you. Same thing in the martial arts. We can't just do the fun part. We've got to do everything, and it comes with work and it comes with time. So how do we figure that out? We have to begin with the end in mind. Now, what do we do for that? right? So we have this revenue tracking sheet. I'm going to spend a little bit of time here, and you guys will get this. So no worries. You don't have to try and write and take notes. But this is pretty detailed. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Everything in blue. So if we look on here, everything in blue, these would be the key areas of revenue that we want to track in your business, right? Because this is how we're going to understand where we are now from a revenue perspective to where we want to go. Chris said it earlier, right? Sales is, I'm paraphrasing, right? But sales is how you get anything that you want. You enroll enough white belts in your school, you're going to get what you want. And so this is how we track our numbers, right? So very simple. On the left-hand side, you got the date. We changed, obviously, the number of the date to match the weekday. And this is a daily piece of stat tracking that you do. And again, worst case scenario, all you do is what's in blue. Everything else is just noise for right now if you're not already doing that. And just get this done. So let me just describe each column for you so that it makes sense. The first column is billing. People have a question. What does billing mean? Is that my expenses? No. This is about revenue generating things that we do in our martial arts school. So number one is our billing check. So that is to say, if you charge $150 a month in your martial arts school, as an example, and someone's on a term or they're on month to month, that $150 a month that comes in for their tuition, right, would be considered what we would call your billing. Right? So on a daily basis, well, how much do we take in a day for billing? We just add that number in, right? All of these are done by day, and then they're calculated in the bottom to give you the month end. The second revenue column is all about retail, right? What did you do for retail sales for that day? Did you sell a uniform? Did you sell a bottle of water? Did you sell sparring gear? What is it that you did? And just track the retail amount that you sold. And for some, I remember doing this years ago, right? With technology now, you don't have to do this, but for some of you, this still works. And this is where if you wanted to say, well, I don't even want to do a spreadsheet, then I mean, you should, right? At least write this down somewhere. But you can create an envelope for each of these different things. So when you have a receipt for your retail, you put it in the retail envelope, right? When you sell a trial, put the receipt for the trial in the trial envelope, so on and so forth. So that's a way that you can do it to help you with this as well. The next column that we have is trials. I think on our original finance track sheet, we have a column for rent. Rent, just so everyone's clear, rent would be if you happen to rent out your martial arts school, as an example, for $300 a month to a yoga school, right? That would be an income to you, so that would go into rent. We don't do that. So instead, we just want to see how many, what dollars are we collecting in paid trials? And again, whether you do paid trials, free trials, sometimes you're going to do different things over the course of the year. This is just where we track any revenue for trials that come in. Now, in our program, and the way that we present, we have a program, not a membership, as an example. And so, we take down payments, right? There's 4 different options for people to pay. So this is where we would track all of our down payment revenue. The next one is 3 payment. 3 payment just simply means this, right? This is if somebody wants to take advantage of paying in full for a program and they can't do it for whatever reason, we allow them to split that into 2 or 3 installments. That is what a 3 pay would be. And so we would just put in what portion of that 3 payment that they made that particular month. Next is paid in full. That's if someone wants to pay in full for one of our term programs. That would be the total amount that they paid in full for the program. Any events are going to be parent night outs. If you've got a camp, a tournament, whatever it might be, that's all in events. Graduations, we consider, we do charge testing fees. We just like to track our graduation and testing fees separately, as well as private lessons. Both of those could go in events, but we want to kind of pull those out just to see how we did in those categories. So there's some different categories for you guys to look at and consider. You can use all those categories. You can change it for you. If you have an after school program or you have a summer camp program, this is the key and this is the secret to understanding how to know. And this is not fun. Listen, it's not sexy. It's not fun. I say this all the time. Like, it just takes a little bit of discipline. And at the end of the day, it doesn't take long to enter it. But I'm the one that hates entering all the information, right? I just don't enjoy doing that. What I love to do is I love to see all of the information in front of me. And so then I can look at it and get an idea of where we're at. Well, why do I love that? Because the next part is what I'm going to show you as we get to this here. You're going to see, because it's how we can make decisions that are going to pull us toward what our why is and what our goal is, and make it much easier for us to do it. So at the end of the month or at the end of the year, we're not surprised on, man, we had a record year, or it was a record high, or was it a record low? We shouldn't have to figure that out at the end of the month or the end of the year. And so by doing this and tracking these revenue categories, event categories on a regular basis, you're going to start to see where you generate your revenue. Now, let me give you a little bit of maybe inspiration, excitement. But if you just take your total revenue that you take in on a monthly basis, on average, whatever your average monthly revenue is, total revenue that you take into your school, and then you take and say, okay, how much of that revenue is your billing, right? Recurring billing. In other words, let me make it simple for you. If you had 100 students and you brought in $12,000 for the month, the question is, of the $12,000, how much of that was recurring monthly billing? So in this case, if I had 100 students and they all happen to be paying $100 a month every month, well, that'd be $10,000 in billing, right? And $2,000 in some other, whether that's retail or testing fee or whatever it may be. So I'm going to just pull the comments back up, but just rough ballpark, what percentage do you generate in, excuse me, there we go, in billing, rough percentages, okay? And you guys don't have to do the math on this, just kind of give an idea. Just pop that in the comments. Or if you want to put in, your billing versus your gross, but typically what we see, right? And if anyone knows, and how much of your revenue is your billing check coming in a monthly basis? What percentage? Doesn't need to be a dollar amount, just percentage. Because I think what most of you will find, and here's there we go, 50%. Okay, yep. Some of you have listened, right? Yeah, should be 50%, right, or less, right? So some of you are 75%. And listen, so some of you, may not even know that number. And when you go back and you look at it, like, wow, 80% of the revenue that we take in is coming from our billing. Well, here's what I would encourage you to look at, and why we want to pay attention to this, and then how we're going to set the goal. Billing should represent no more than 50% of your total revenue that you take in on a monthly, quarterly, and annual basis, right? So if my billing is $10,000 a month, I should be generating at least $20,000 a month in revenue, right? And then you're going to say, well, how do you do that? Well, you're going to learn some of those things over the course of the next few days. So you see all the things in blue there. That is your KPIs you must do. For those of you that may be overachievers, if you look to the right of that, by the way, all those formulas will calculate for you, and you can watch the totals and things like that. But if you want to track other KPIs, right, you can track, which are key performance indicators. You can track things like your total attendance for the day. How many people have come into your martial arts school in the last 30 days, right? How many web leads have you gotten? How many other leads from booth events or table events or walk-ins or whatever it may be did you get? The number of appointments that you booked, the number of intros that showed, new trials. I'm going through these relatively quickly, not because they're not important, but because I want to show you guys what to do. Enrollments, number of nominations, upgrade conferences, upgrades, renewal conferences, renewals, and how many cancellations. And some of you may say, well, we don't do upgrades. No worries, right? Or we don't do any sort of, online web marketing. Okay, but you still have Facebook and you still have a website that you may organically get those leads from. So if you want to use that, use it, take it, use it for your advantage, and track those additional KPIs. But the most important thing is to look at is what's in blue. Now, once you have those numbers, here's what's going to happen. You're going to then take those numbers and you're going to start going into and putting this into a monthly spreadsheet. This is your dashboard. It's your annual stat sheet, or your one sheet, as we call it, right? It's got everything that you need to know. So in a snapshot, you can see here's all your key performance indicators for January, February, March, so on and so forth. This is just, you see, we filled it in as an example. Gross revenue is 40,000. Monthly billing is 20,000. We did that on purpose, right? So that we had a 50% spread. But if you look, I think, I know I can speak for us, right? About 68% of our revenue, I say about 68, between 65 and 70% of our revenue comes from things other than billing, right? So billing is about 35% of the total revenue that we take into our school. So there's ways in which we're going to show you guys how to do that and get to those levels and so on and so forth. So with that being said, let me just get back off the screen share here just 1 second, because what I want you to commit to just for a minute here is I want you to think about what is your goal, based off of what you did for 2024. Now, listen, some of you may not even know the answer to that. Let me just call that out. Some of you may not even know and be able to project for the next 2 weeks what your total is going to be. But where are you ending the year from a financial, and I'm not asking you to answer this question, but in your mind, where are you ending the year financially? And then if we could wave a magic wand, what is our goal? What do we want to accomplish for 2025? That's what I want. That's what I want to do, right? So what is it that we did financially, and what is our, in this case, financial goal? Now, listen, I want to be very clear. Not all of you on here may have a financial goal, but the other goals you have of more students or impacting more families, it all happens as a result of setting the goal, because you need to generate more revenue in your business, period. And you will. If you have more people come in, you're going to generate more revenue. So people vote with their dollars, and it's just our way of tracking and understanding, are we on track for hitting our goal? So let me just give you an example, and we'll do this. I'm going to show you this on here. I want to give you just something to think about there. So here's what we'll do. What's your financial goal for the year? Again, you do not have to type this in the chat box, because I already have an example for you. And the example is this, right? We're going to go through and we're going to do what's called finding your percent multiplier, right? And this is really your key to success. So I'm going to use numbers. This is just an arbitrary school. You can use this and do this for your own numbers and know what you want to do. So 2024, we look back and we say, okay, well, we did $150,000 in revenue for our business this year. This is what we did. So, and again, I'm just using this as an example, everybody. Now you decide that you want to come up with a goal. And what's the goal? What's $50,000? Well, why is it 200,000? Why is it not 250? Why is it not 180? Why is it not 500,000? And the answer is the goal is your goal, right? And I'm just using this as an example so you could understand how to reverse engineer it so that we can hit it. But ultimately, that's all ties back to your why that you came up with in the beginning. What is the most important reason? What are you going to do with this $50,000? I'm going to buy my boat for the lake. I'm actually going to hire more team and more staff to make my job easier. I want to give more. I just want to be a philanthropist. I just want to give more to the community. Whatever your reasons are, right? We can do whatever we want. Money is just a tool. And I say that because I think this industry has been beat up over the years about it's not okay to generate revenue or make money teaching martial arts, right? And it 100% is okay to do whatever you want to do, right? As long as it's ethical and as long as it's fair and as long as you're helping, right? That's really what the goal and mission is here. So in this example, this is for a school that did 150,000, and they're saying the goal wants to be 200,000. I want my goal for 2025 to be $200,000. Well, what do? We got to take what the goal is and we divide that by the previous year. So if we take the 200,000 divided by 150,000, this is going to give you a percent multiplier. In this case, that number is 1.33. So I'm going to pause, and this is going to take a minute for you to do this. But I really want everyone, even if you've got to do a guess as to your income for this year, and then what is your goal of income for next year, and just figure out what is your percent multiplier, and then pop that in the chat box. So what is your goal for next year, financial goal? What did you do or what will you do this year? Again, either guess or just get close, right? Divide those two numbers and you're going to come up with your percent multiplier. And I'd love for you just to put that in the chat box. I want to see what everybody's got here for their percent multiplier. Okay, so Master Bull says 1.17. So that's a 17% increase, right on. Remember to take your goal divided by what you did the previous year, right? 1.33, 2, okay. So MJ Butler is double, 10% growth for Angela, double in for Jason, good. This is gonna help you tremendously when we go to the next step, okay? So knowing that percent multiplier, 40% increase, 69% increase, 33%. By the way, these are all great. love the answers. And here's the thing. What you need to ask yourself is, if you were a stock and you had double-digit growth of 10% or more per year, would somebody want to invest in you, right? And sometimes what happens is when you come to things like this and you go through this, you may be a smaller school right now. I'm just going to be honest. You could potentially 2x or 3x from where you are to next year, right? But as you become a more stabilized school over the course of the years, right? What can happen is you're just trying to get to 10 or 12% increases per year. So just kind of remember, I love the fact that you guys are getting this and it makes sense to everybody, okay? All right, so almost a 5x for Patria, okay? All right, and again, all of this stuff is relative as well, right? So now we have a percent multiplier. Here's what happens next. We need to create a monthly goal. And again, in order to do this, you have to be able to look back at your numbers and your stats for 2024. So in this instance, I'm just using an arbitrary number again. We did $11,000, or this particular example school did $11,000 in January of 2024. Now, if you've never kept stats and you don't know how to get this answer because you don't have a spreadsheet, you don't have a CRM, you know what I mean? Here's what I would tell you. Just go back and look at your deposits you made in that bank account for that particular month, so you can at least have a number to be able to use, because I do understand not all of us have kept good numbers or kept numbers consistently. So if that works better for you, just go back to your bank statement, look at all your deposits for the month of January and figure out and base your goals based off of that, okay? And that'll get you close. So in this example, January of 2024, they did $11,000 in revenue. Well, if we want to go from 150,000 that we did last year to 200,000 this year, what we need to do is we just need to adjust our number and beat it last year by 33% or 1.33. So my new goal for January of 25 becomes $14,667. Okay? If last year, February, we did 8,300, you multiply that times your percent multiplier to get to your 11,000, and then you can look at the same thing for March. I did this again just to give you an example, and here's the reason why, right? I want to, oops, sorry guys, wrong way. My goodness, my clicker is going too fast here. So I want to give you this reason. So my static versus dynamic goal slide must have slid out of there, but I want to explain to you the difference between a static goal and a dynamic goal, okay? A static goal is where you set the goal and say, as an example, and I did this years ago when I first came on board with Elite, actually as a client. I set a goal this way because I didn't know any better, right? I didn't understand the difference. I said, man, if I could just do 360,000 a year, and if I could just do 30,000 a month, like that would be phenomenal. And here's what I want everyone to understand about this. Writing your goals down is also extremely powerful, because I'll never forget. I know exactly where I was when I wrote that down, and I wrote down $360,000 this year for revenue, $30,000 a month, and I wrote it out. And I don't think I ever really looked at it again after that. But I remember it was one of the last Friday nights that we were having classes. It was actually a Belk graduation in December. And in December, we were literally at $356,000 and change. And on that Friday, we had a parent that wanted to do one of our programs for their children that happened to be just over a $4,000 program. So literally the revenue that we did was $360,000, almost to the penny. And some would argue that that's coincidence, right? I would argue that, you know, for a lot of people, when you write things down and you put them in front of you, subconsciously you have an attachment and you're going to go and make those things happen, right? So that's what happened for me, by the way, year one, right? And then I started to understand and learn that business isn't the same every month, right? Any other business, they don't do the same exact revenue every single month. There's ups and there's downs and there's ups and there's downs. So what this will do is by setting a dynamic goal as opposed to a static X dollars per month, right? This is going to help you on the really small months maybe that we had or we struggled in to potentially really crush those months because we can game plan this year, right? And on those bigger months, right, it's not as big of a climb. And so, or maybe what happens is last year you had a $20,000 month one year. And, you know, this year you look at that and you set a static goal of, man, if I could just do, you know, $20,000 every single month, that'd be a great month. Well, it would be, but then you have a pop and you have a $40,000 month. Now setting the goal for 20,000 doesn't make good sense anymore, right? So this allows us to understand the strengths, the weaknesses, the flow of our business over the course of the year, and allows us to modify and adjust by using the percent multiplier. So this is step number one for everybody is get your percent multiplier, look at what we did, and set your monthly goals based off your percent multiplier. Once you have that done, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come back to your revenue sheet. And this is where it gets powerful, right? Because if I just need to look and say, okay, man, last year we did $10,000. This year we got to do $13,333 as an example. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, now what you can do is you can go back to last year. You can look at your income sheet and say, oh, we did this for billing. Okay, can we get that times 1.33 this month? Here's what we did for retail last year, times 1.33. And now you're able to have a plan for success because all you need to do is break that big goal down into these smaller bite-sized pieces. And if you hit each of those columns and you hit one and then you move to the next and then you hit the next and move to the next and make it fun and make it a game, at the end of the month, you will have hit your goal. And when you do this every single month, right, at the end of the year, you'll have hit your yearly goal because we just don't want to get ourselves down when we have some of these down months, right? It's okay. We just need to understand how to recover from that. And that's a whole nother piece. But what we should do is at the end of the, you know, as we get after month one, we need to look, are we plus or minus or where we need to be? And if we're minus, we carry forward that negative to the next month until we get it back to where we need to be so we can hit our goal for the quarter and then ultimately for the year. Those are just different strategies. Right now, our main focus is we've just got to start keeping the KPIs for our business, for our school, and do that on a regular basis. And if we can do that, and if we can make sure that that's happening, you're going to see exactly how you grow. So this exact formula, right, has what, and I'm just going to give you like two quick stories. One is mine and one is just a client. But following this system has, you know, brought me, and some of you may not even be at this level, right? From $240,000 in revenue at my martial arts school when I was at my high. The first year with Elite went to 360,000 in revenue, right? And then 440,000 next year, 526,000 I think the next year, 660,000 next year. I mean, we had just these massive jumps. And I will tell you that if I, you know, looking back, is it was a lot of small things that we implemented to really make a big difference. So as small as this may seem for you, this is one of those small things that's going to allow you to have massive results if you can just have the discipline to do it, or give somebody else the tools to be able to put the information in, so at least you can analyze it, right? This is the same system that we've taken a struggling school owner that was generating $5,000 a month or $5,500 a month in their martial arts school just 7 years ago now, right? And they've been doing over $1 million a year in their martial arts school for the last 3 or 4 years, right? It's by understanding the small details and then going ahead and looking and understanding the difference between a static goal and a dynamic goal, knowing your percent multiplier and how to get to that level. And that's how you're going to get your goal for the new year. Now, this is, again, all financial goals, right? Your student goals can have to be attached to this. There's other things that we can do. And I think, Metz is going to chime in here in a second, because I'm going to do this and I can see him holding up his stat sheets. So let me just get back to stop sharing the screen here. There we go. So Metz, you had those, we're holding those stat sheets up, looking like you wanted to chime in there.
Well, look, because you said it, this is not an exciting topic. It's a boring topic, but it's a necessary one. And everybody, you guys, the first thing Chris asked you guys earlier was, what is your why? And for those of you who have a why, if you have never experienced the why yet in reality, then it's not as big of a driver as you think it is. And here's what I mean by that. If you guys, and I've said this to the elite group in our schools, if I told you, if you hit your goal in January, I'm going to buy you a brand new car, does that motivate you more to try to hit that goal? The answer is yes, it will, right? Brand new car, brand new diamond ring, brand new something, right? Whatever it is, your why. If I say, if you hit your goal, you're going to get it. It will motivate you more, just like right now, you all have a why on why you want to grow your school, and that's going to motivate you more. But if I said to you, if you don't hit your goal in January, I'm going to take the car you have away from you. Will that motivate you even more? Yes, it will, because your life is going to be disrupted, right? The life you're living will be disrupted. If you don't hit your goal at the end of the month and you don't get the new car, you'll be disappointed, but your life carries on the way it's always carried on. That is the biggest detriment to your success. You don't know how great life can be until you've experienced it. And that's why you have to have a clear picture of why. So what Tassel is talking about, stat sheets, for those of you who are new to a MAIA webinar, I get these sheets every single month. These are my stat sheets with all of our schools, right? We have 9 locations, right? And I get these stats, and if you could see, it says January, February, March, April, May. This is all the way through November. December is blank right now because we're not done with December. But I got to look at these stats, and I meet with my directors once a month to see where are the holes? Where are we weak? I don't sit there and just say, our goal is to do 70,000 this month, at one of the locations. Our goal is to do this. I got to break it down, and I got to know what schools have holes where, and I get the odds in my favor. And so you have to keep these stats. It is one of the most important things you can do if you want to grow your school. And you guys, we all love the sayings, right? You got to be willing. If you want to be successful, you got to be willing to do what other people aren't willing to do. Well, sit on here and listen to a talk about stats. Not many people can stay on, as I saw. I mean, there were some people that jumped off. My focus, this is boring. Whatever the reasons are. Some people had stuff to do. I don't want to diminish. I'm making a point here. I'm making a point, but you got to be willing to do what others aren't. And when you do that, again, you now get your odds in your favor to be successful. And if you want to get motivated, right? My story is I charged $4 a class when I opened my school. $4 a class. Then I went to $50 a month, month to month, unlimited come for $50 a month. And I just wanted to be able to pay my car payment. I lived at home. until I was 25 years old, everybody. I lived at home till I was 25. Well, fast forward to today, my goal back then when I was teaching martial arts was to make $50,000 a year profit, not gross. I was like, I want to make $50,000 a year. And man, this will be the dream career for me. Well, you fast forward to today and we do over $5 million. We're doing $5.5 million with just our schools, just the karate schools. Like, I never would have thought that's possible, but I listened to other people along the way. I got inspired and I said to myself, why not? Right? You also heard me say my why, or what am I looking forward to 2025? And I said, scaling. I want to open up 2 more units. Don't put a ceiling on yourself. The biggest question is are you willing to do what Tassel just talked about? Are you willing to do it? Right? And by the way, you might get motivated right now and say, you know what, that's it. I'm tired of struggling. I'm tired of being on the gerbil wheel. We have a good year, a bad year, a good year, a bad year, or I'm stagnant. We're not growing fast enough. So you get motivated. Just like everyone gets motivated to go to the gym in January, and by March, they all quit. You got to stay focused on your why. And I'm telling you, it's not about me anymore. It's about my team and my students who became instructors, who are now executives in our company, to grow them. And it's about all of you. I have a passion to help the martial arts industry. And there's not a person on this Zoom right now that can ever say you reached out to me and I didn't call you back. Right? It doesn't matter what I am, where I am, what I'm doing. If somebody needs some help, I'm going to help them. Right? So we're here to give you passion, but I get fired up and passionate, not because anybody said, well, it's because I've been doing this for over 20 years and I already know the answers. I know how many people stay with it. Just like if I asked you how many students make it to black belt. If you guys have been teaching a long time, you know it's a small minority that make it to black belt. Right? We know that. So I get frustrated because I can predict the future. So I'm trying to change the future for all of you. So keep those stats. And like I said earlier, don't try to implement every stat, but start implementing some stats, right? You got to start somewhere. So there we go. Tass, Chris?
Yeah, I was just going to finish up with, BHAG, right? Big, hairy, audacious goals, right? Figure out what that is for you. And then use this system to be able to get you there. It's interesting, when you focus on these things, we all know how the mind works, right? You get what you focus on, period, right? End of story. And so I can give you an example of how you're going to do that. If you fill these numbers in, you're going to focus on them. You're going to see them naturally start to grow. You're going to go from asking yourself to maybe where's the money to, well, like instead of where is it, like where's all of this coming from, right? So you can see those things start to happen. I'll give you an example, right? I've been focused for whatever reason lately on expenses, right? And the amount of expenses that I've cut has been crazy, right? And so that's another way to generate more revenue, but you can only cut expenses so far. So having this game plan, having the goals, having the stat sheets, utilizing them is going to set you up for your best opportunity for success and to get to the next level for the literally 60 seconds a day of discipline it takes to do it, or to have somebody else do it. So I know there's some questions we've got in the chat box here, Chris, if we want to go over those, or we want to wait till the end on those.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically shifting into our Q&A right now.
Okay.
One of the questions was, are those Excel sheets in the resources? We do have a giveaway at the end of today. It may or may not be a cool spreadsheet. I don't know, but you got to stick around to the very end before we give that. I am personally a fan of utilizing Google Sheets versus like an actual physical document that lives on your computer, because with Google Sheets, it lives in the cloud, and no matter where you are, you would have access to it. So if like you're at the academy or you're at your house, and one of the big things that when I shifted to this mindset of kind of theming my days, Friday is always my finance day. That doesn't mean I don't look at finances or numbers or traffic stats other days, but that's the day that I do a deep dive into it. And for those of you that are going to implement what Mr. Tossel just went over, you need to time block that into your calendar. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. So make sure you do that. We're going to go ahead now and shift to Q&As. If there were any questions that didn't get answered during my session or Mr. Tassel's session, feel free to drop them in, or if you just have any other questions, we're going to go over that for about the next 15 minutes, and then we will do our giveaway and then future pace for tomorrow. Mrs. Woods asks, when tracking these numbers, the down payment does not count toward the billing.
Correct. That's its own column. That would be correct. And but listen, that's the way, let me say it this way. That's the way that we do it, right? But whatever you're going to do, just be sure to be consistent with it. Right?
Hey, let me just say this too for everybody. I like simple, right? So I ran my schools for a long time without a CRM, right? So what I would do is when I had that stat sheet, we created this spreadsheet a long time ago. I was like, well, when somebody's paying, somebody wants to buy a uniform, somebody's signing up for an event, I can't stop the day, and this is going back 10 plus years ago, 15 years ago, and start entering numbers in the computer. So what I did was I just made envelopes. I got envelopes that had all the headers on it: billing, special events, down payments, paid in fulls, testing, envelopes labeled. If I ran a credit card, I'd write on the top of the credit card, let's say somebody paid, I'm making this up, $30 for a graduation fee and $30 for a uniform. So I ran their credit card for $60. I'd put on the credit card slip, I'd put $30 uniform, $30 testing. And I'd grab either the testing envelope or the retail envelope, put the slip in, put it in the file, and just kept moving on. At the end of the night, I opened up each envelope. I added up the checks, the cash, or whatever the slips. Then I put it in the correct spot on the spreadsheet, went to the next thing. If I opened up retail and I see $30 for graduation, $30 for uniform, I'd put $30 under retail, $30 under testing, put that to the side. I just wanted to make it simple, and I did it at the end of every single night. And then when I started developing staff, and I had staff in multiple schools, you could walk in any school, open up the drawer, and you'd see these envelopes in there, and they would do it. Today, we have technology that can do this for you, right? So either way, I don't know if it was Chris or Tassel said it, you got to keep the end goal in mind. Just remember why you're doing whatever it is you're doing. And ultimately, here's why you're doing it. You guys said it at the beginning. It's to grow your business. Period. End of story. It's to grow your business. If you can find a more efficient way to grow your business, stop doing all of these things. If you can find a more direct approach for you, do that. Just keep the end in mind. You don't have to do every single A, B, C, D, E. I hate that. If I can go A to Z, I'm going A to Z. I don't want to have to go through B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I just to get to Z, because I understand what the goal is, right? So I have become, I'm going to write a book, Chris. You're going to appreciate it. It's called The Lazy Man's Way to Millions. What do you guys think? You think that would be a good seller? The Lazy Man's Way to Millions? Right? Can I say lazy man? I'm saying that just because I'm a man. I mean, I could say the lazy person's way to millions. I don't even know this culture today, but either way, I like simple, and I don't want to work hard if I don't have to. So, sorry, I'm a little passionate today, guys. Maybe it's this coffee. It's very strong.
We did have somebody ask about MAIA Edge. MAIA Edge is an online resource specific for martial arts schools. This is what the kind of back end looks like, and you can search for any type of really like graphic that you're interested in. There's business training videos in here. There's a social media calendar. So let's say, you wanted to look at the partners in education. You can search for that, and everything that has to do with partners in education will pop up. So this is one of my favorite ones. And what's so great is that it's built inside of Canva. And what you can do is you can pull it inside of your own Canva platform, and now they're all editable. So you can go in and edit these. So, we all need to have graphics for our events that we are doing. This can be a huge time suck. Canva is a lot of fun, but can also be a time vampire. They make it so easy for kind of everybody to use that you can waste a lot of time. So this is pretty much just done for you, which is really cool.
By the way, Chris, I don't know if you know, Tass, I think you know, MAIA Edge was not designed for the industry. MAIA Edge was when we started scaling schools, when we went from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8, I needed a way to keep quality high in all those schools and not have everybody come to a central place every single time and get reminded on how to do an enrollment conference, how to get their copies, how to get their sheets, how to get their notes, business videos, meetings. I designed it for my schools. And then I went to Century Martial Arts and I said, hey, I think this can help all schools. So then we made it generic and editable to where we took our logos off, all this stuff, and made it editable. And now we put it for all the schools. So when you're on MAIA Edge, you're getting the same thing my schools are getting. It's a resource center. If you want to know how to do an enrollment conference, type in enrollment. If you want a business video on how to do pricing structure, watch the business video. I mean, it is a resource center. And yes, Chris has just put there, it's $149 a month. And it's a 10-year contract. I'm kidding, guys. It's monthly.
Kidding.
I'm kidding.
All right. Any other questions, guys, before we wrap up here? Please don't be shy. We are here for you. Doesn't have to involve what we went over today. If it's something different, we'd be happy to unpack that. Michelle says the resources are amazing in Edge. Yes, they are. Agree. Very nice. Awesome.
I do want to say, for those of you who watch the stat sheets, you may be saying, well, man, that's great, but how do I increase by 33% or 20% or 10? How do I? That's what we're going to cover tomorrow and the next day. So tomorrow and the next day, we're going to give you things to increase and grow your schools. But we felt that you needed to understand the stats so you can track all the stuff that you're implementing. So you'll get all that information in the next 2 days.
And let me say this too, as we look for questions on the side, but you know, whether you're a competitive martial artist, right, or not, for those of you that are competitive martial artists, right, I don't know that you ever go to a competition where you didn't get a medal or a trophy, or there was no distinction of who is the winner, right? And so that's very similar to running your martial arts school and not knowing what your numbers and what your stats are, right? That's how you track success, right? That's how you track where you're doing well and the things that you need to work on. So if you go to a tournament, you're doing forms, breaking, sparring, or whatever the divisions are, you know where you fit and you know what you need to go back and work on. Or imagine watching, whether it's Sunday football or tennis or you name it, but there's no way of keeping score, right? It would be absolutely boring. And for some of us, this is why over years of doing this, it's boring for us, right? Because we're not keeping score. And if you kept score, I think you'd be really, really shocked as to how things with work, right, but are going to start to go in the direction that you want because you're focused on them. So that's the exciting part. If it was me, I would be looking at, what do we do this year in revenue? What do we want to do next year? Figure out what that percent multiplier is. Attach that why to it so you really understand what's the reason, why do I want it? And so that way now you've got the goal, you've got your percent multiplier, you've got the why, and then tomorrow and the next day when we dig in on how to do some of these things to get you to the next level, it's going to give you the fire you need to go take action.
A couple of questions here. Generally speaking, how long does it take to see that high percentage of gross to billing change?
That's a good question. I mean, here's the answer, right? There's systems that we build and put in place into the martial arts school, and the more well-established and mature those systems become, the more we're going to see that later on. But in a lot of instances as well, depending on, I'll say the average client that comes on, you're going to see that happen within the first probably 90 days of working together. So there's a big pop in the first 90 days, but you know, so it can happen very quickly. And over time, you'll have a more stabilized number. You'll know what that number is pretty consistently.
All right. Another question. What is the best way to know how much I should be charging for memberships?
Great question. Here's how. Do not look at what your competitors in your area are charging. It's irrelevant. I don't care what my competitors are doing. I only care about what I'm doing because I believe my product and service is different than theirs. I'm not going to say I'm better because they're going to say they're better, right? It doesn't matter. But what I would do is tracking traffic stats and seeing how many times are you having price objections on your programs or your membership. If it's rare that you're losing people over a price objection, then think of it this way, whatever you're charging, if somebody walks into your school off the street, they don't know what you were charged. They don't know what you charge. They come in, they go, how much do you charge, right? So they don't know. Someone who's going to sign up at your school for $130, most likely is also going to sign up if it's $140, right? I don't think that $10 is going to sway them. However, there's a point of price objection. There is a point of overpricing yourself, because in business, we want ease of entry, right? Well, Chris mentioned it earlier. I talk about not how much you charge, but how you charge. And the way you present them is extremely important on how you set your buying criteria for people. But if everybody on here, without even knowing anything, if everybody on here has had the same price for, say, 18 months or longer, I'm quite confident that if going into 2025, you want to increase that by $10, you're not going to see a dip in revenue. So $10 to a consumer is not a big deal. $10 to you is a huge deal. If you have 100 students and then you get everybody paying you $10 more, that's an extra $12,000 a year in pure profit. You understand? That's 100 times 10, right? I would not disrupt my current students, though. I don't go into the new year and say, hey, everybody, I'm raising my prices. I give everyone in my school an opportunity to stay at their price of where they're at, but that's getting into seminar mode. But again, it's how you present, not what you do, but how you do it, right? So, and I wouldn't drastically raise prices either. I wouldn't raise my prices $40 a month right out of the gate. I would not do that.
Do you focus on a specific economic bracket?
As far as what, clientele? Is that as far as, I don't know what that means. If yes, as far as clientele. Yeah. So look, I have 9 locations. We have a real estate broker. For those of you who don't know, myself and Mr. Silverman also own commercial real estate, right? We have commercial properties. So we have a broker. We have a team. I mean, we don't just have a broker, but I had asked him if he can pull all of my schools, all of my locations, and give me the demographics of a 1 mile, 3 mile, and 5 mile radius, because I thought that I would want to open locations where we had a higher density of children, right, in the 1 mile and 3 mile, because the majority of our students are 80% are kids. We have a 20% adult base, pretty good adult base, but the majority are kids. You literally can take the demographics and put household income, the highest household income matched up with my highest grossing school. The second highest demographic, my second highest grossing school, almost perfectly with higher household income. And I want to say the household income bracket that was like where we want to be, preferably, was like 80,000, household income. Now, I don't know if that sounds like a lot or a little, but I have a school that has an average household income of like 40,000. This school had a shooting in the parking lot. It has stray cats in the parking lot. There's ducks. It sounds ridiculous. There's ducks and duck crap all over. My instructor would tell me, sir, is there any way we can move? It's behind a gas station. The only reason it's there is because that was the first commercial property I ever built. And that was back in 2006. It's a 12,000 square foot center. I moved my school in there along with T-Mobile and some other tenants, but we sold it 6 years ago. We sold that building 6 years ago and it went downhill. Just so you know, we are moving that school. Right now, as we speak, they're building out their new location. They will be in there after the holidays, because I took my daughter there for class. As soon as I almost killed 5 ducks and saw 3 cats and walked over duck feces, I walked in the school and I said, we're moving you. I mean, I had to see it myself. We're moving you. However, just for inspiration for you, that school averages just over $50,000 a month in revenue. No after-school pickup program. And I want to make this clear to all of you. That school charges the same amount as my school in my highest income area. My prices are across the board, which is why I say it's not what you charge, it's how you charge. So that household income it's a very lower economic area. Prices are the same. And that school does a little over 50 grand a month average. Okay. So there's no excuses, right? It's about knowing how to do it. And that's what we hope to give you a little insight on in the next 3 days.
Awesome. All right, guys. Any final questions as we wrap up here today? Great questions. We appreciate you getting in the chat and asking. Awesome. Okay. So let me go ahead and share the screen here one more time. We do have a free giveaway for you, which is our blank annual stat sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this in the chat. We are only giving this to people that are on live today. And all of the giveaways, you do have to stay on live for them. So make sure you grab that link because we're not going to email that link out with the recordings. I've been getting a lot of questions about the recordings. We will have them each day before the end of the day. We will email them out. You will get it emailed to the email that you registered for the Academy Intensive. So sometimes check your spam box. It'll end up in there if you are looking for the recording. And we'll go ahead and drip release that content out each day. Tomorrow, we have Mr. Parman, who is going to be talking about how to launch a 6-figure summer camp. And the giveaways are just phenomenal. He really went over and above and beyond with that. And then Mr. Metzger is going to be unpacking your 90-day marketing game plan. So we want you to be able to walk away having a complete marketing game plan for January, February, and March, the first quarter of the year. Okay. So I'm going to drop this free giveaway one more time in there. Mr. Metzger, any final words, sir?
Listen, it's 2025. I hope all of you can take a big step towards your goals and your dreams. And, you know, we hope to be part of that and try to help you, because it really is great to be a little bit more financially set and be able to provide career opportunities for whoever you want to provide those for, right? But it starts with you. You got to make sure you provide yourself with that opportunity before you can provide it for others. So I hope we can help.
Mr. Tassel, any final words?
No, just appreciate everyone spending your time with us and being on here. I know it's a big commitment, especially this time of year. So thank you very much. And we hope we can deliver some great information to you guys, and always open for questions. So thank you.
And guys, we will get you the keynotes. Mr. Tassel, if you could send me your keynotes so I can get it over to them. When we send out the recordings, we will put that in there. And we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Same place, same time, same link. And we hope you have a great, wonderful rest of your day. Talk to you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.